Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Friday's edition of Pre-Market Info.
We had a vicious sell-off around 6:30 last night, trading down to 1673 on the S&P futures, but we've rallied the whole thing back, and we're only down a point right now.
Yeah, probably a little bit of squirmishness in Washington. That spike took you down to 1673. That's your pivot point for today's trading, so that's going to be your support level. Really not a lot on the support side, Dennis. We ripped up through this area. Now we're just hanging up here in the 1680s. You do have resistance, 1689. That's the overnight high, and then bunching up in the 1690s here. You do have resistance. Your 7 and 8 day high, your 10-day high, a high that you had back, in September. So there is resistance there, major overhead resistance. So we'll start looking at it at the 1690
But
level.
just look at yesterday's rally. I think that caught everybody by surprise. I mean, a little bit of a rally is one thing, but that was blowing through resistance levels left, right, and center. We blew through that 1663 to 1665 area where I thought we might get a pause. It seems like everybody just said, "Get me in. This is my big chance to buy, and I want back in." Interesting enough, that low we got down to 1640, Joel. Remember that number? That's where we placed our original bet there. You had taken 1540. I had taken 1740. It got all the way up to 1726. Couldn't quite get up there for my steak dinner. And now you could have took it off scratch there, but it's back up at 1683.
Yeah, I would. I tried to get a scratch in there, but it bounced out. You went in there and started buying, and you
I went
didn't
there,
give me a
start buying.
chance to do it.
Yeah, so interesting this market though. It gets to that 1640 number and boom, everything comes right back. Let's talk about the big bank earnings here. We got a couple big guns that just reported earnings here this morning. Start with J.P. Morgan. It is trading up 75 cents right now. They reported earnings of 142 versus $1.22. 23.1 billion versus 24.06 billion. So a little light on the revenue. Does not matter. Stock is trading up in the pre-market. Got as high as 54 bucks, but is pulling back a bit since it made that high.
Yeah, this is good. Stock's always good for a wild ride on earnings. You did get up to 54. Now we're trading at the lowest level since hitting 54 here, 53.16. So a little bit of the luster is fading here. If you look at it from a daily perspective here, haven't traded near the $54 level, Dennis. But if you had your charts out when you were
A lot
looking
of
on this
highs
pop
in
here, you would
September.
have. Yeah, a lot of highs right there at the $54 area. You go back in September, you hit a high at 53.93, a low or a high just below that at 53.87. So it's interesting. The pop took you right up to that level. There's an example of not necessarily using the pre-market activity to initiate a short, but you might not get another shot at selling at $54
If it
level.
does get up there in the regular session, I think they may still line up there in the regular session as well
Oh
because it
yeah.
looks like somebody's lining up in the pre-market from the trading. So we're 90 cents away from there now, but you never know. Wells Fargo also reported earnings. They beat 99 cents versus 97. A little light on the revenue again, 20.5 billion versus 21 billion. This kind of was a little bit all over the place after the report. It got up to looks like 41.90 and well actually and then that was a little bit off the JP Morgan report too, so that was
Yep.
before the trading. And then it started drifting down and now it's actually sitting on the lows of the day here. $40.73. Obviously, this stock spiked up into the earnings report, was up over $1 yesterday. It's given some of those gains back today, though.
Yeah, what a range for Wells Fargo. I mean, a buck 20. Sometimes that's like 2 weeks
What's a big
worth of
range for that stock?
action.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just looking at the parameters here that the market's given us, 41.90. Boy, it bumped up against that several times in the pre-market. Now the earnings have taken it down. So it's sitting at 41.90. We've hit 40.67 here. Looking at the daily chart, the stock has given back all of the gains that it had really from yesterday. So not liking the earnings. 40.43. We're 35 cents away from there, 34 cents away. You keep an eye on that as a support level. And then below that, 40.07. That was your low on Wednesday. So We're down. We're coming into support. I think any kind of a rebound here back in the, up to the close 41.44. You should find some resistance ahead of that 41.90 high.
A stock that's significantly popping off earnings is Safeway. Grocery store 10 cents versus 16 cents, so they missed on the bottom line. Revenue came in a bit better, 8.6 billion versus 8.52 billion. And then they guided lower, 93 cents to a dollar versus a dollar 09. So you look at this report and it's like, this doesn't look that great, but you know what? I guess the numbers don't matter. They are popping the stock. Something fierce here in the pre-market. Good $2 pop for a stock that typically, trades in a 40 or 50 cent range. So kaboom, 33.85. And who bought that thing at 34.99 in the pre-market? Because that is ridiculous.
30 up, 34.99. You had a buck and a half drop off that
Wow.
to 33.50. So they'll keep an eye on that 33.50 area as minor support. Let me say that's minor. Yesterday's range, you need to get all the way back down to 32, 38 to fill the gap here. So this one is kind of in no man's land.
2007 pricing is where you're at that 34.99 tick. 34.87 was a high back in January, actually 2008. So early 2008. We have not been up to these prices since that time. You think some of the other grocers, like SVU or Super Value, might get a lift off this? What's happening in the pre-market with SVU? It's just getting bid up at 806, but I just wonder.
Yeah, I mean the information wasn't that great.
No, that's what I'm looking at too. I don't know what else was in that report. Obviously, with that Safeway, they had something else that they had mentioned. I'm just trying to look here at the report myself right now.
Super value. This stock hit a high at 812 here. Not doing a lot in the pre-market, so I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to have much of a sympathy.
I don't shop the sector a whole lot.
Safeway from Benzinger Newswire. Safeway sells 4 Dominick stores. Safeway announced today as part of its plan to exit the Chicago market, has sold 4 of its Dominick stores to the greater Chicago area to new Albertsons. I don't know if that helps to pop, but that's the only other thing that I see there happening with Safeway. So either way, that's just a hell of a pop on not that great of a report. But, funny things happen, and this has been trading up the entire after hours, entire pre-market, so they like it for some reason. Micron MU also reported earnings there last night. 20 cents versus 24 cents, so Micron disappointed. 2.8 billion versus 2.7 billion. They did actually beat on the top line. Wells Fargo not having it. They don't like the stock, and they've downgraded it here this morning. But the stock's still holding up quite well here. $18.25 is where it's trading at, only down 15 cents.
Had a pretty good range in the pre-market for this thick stock here. You did pop over 1860, 1870. Actually, on the initial news, you made a high at 1879. That's a real good resistance point. Since then, people had a change of heart, took it down to 1754. So, big range for Micron here. Looking at it from the daily chart here, it just seems to be running into the trouble above this 18.5 area. Someone's identifying that as an area to exit this issue. The last 6 highs have been, you take out that 1685 high, and you've had 5 highs between 1845 and 1865. So it doesn't look like this news is going to take it through the major resistance. If it takes out 1806 during the regular session on the downside, you've got a long way to go to get to Thursday's low at 1715.
The analysts were very busy last night because they have so many upgrades and downgrades here this morning on big guns too. Let's start with Johnson & Johnson. They are getting an upgrade here at Goldman Sachs. Stock is trading up 70 cents in the pre-market. J&J upgraded here. The price target getting raised, and they were upgraded from sell to neutral, and a good lift here for J&J following through on yesterday's rally.
Right, and boy, they were probably defending the stock at the $86 level. You did get a dip below that for one day, or actually 2 days. You got down to 85.50, 85.57, and now you're getting
big reversal.
Big reversal here. So for you longer-term traders who are using that $86 level, you're probably getting rewarded. The pop up to 88.94 here, that's a bit overdone. You pulled back to 88.52 here since hitting that 88.94 high. And there's not a lot of solid resistance. You had a high at 88.47, which we're still above. But something tells me this 88.94 all the way up to 89.20. That was the high on September 24th. If it gets back up there, should be just call that whole $89 area major resistance. Also, considering you're at 85 and a half, 2 days ago, very big move here for Johnson and Johnson, and I don't know if it's going to be able to sustain it through the $89 level.
Intel INTC getting downgrade at Macquarie this morning, and the stock's trading down 16 cents here in the pre-market at 22.94. It broke out through a key resistance level. Intel did yesterday at $23. Obviously, this 23, well, the breakout that Macquarie is not liking the breakout, and they're calling it, I guess, a fake out because they're downgrading it.
Yeah, down 16 cents, traded up to 23.22, and then pulled back 23.10, closed 22.92. Kind of just waffling in that area in the pre-market. Haven't been able to take it through yesterday's low, which was 22.92. So not going to put a lot of emphasis on this downgrade until we get to the 22.92 level, and then you got a double bottom at 22.48. And coming back on the upside here, we'll see if the offers replenish themselves. I don't think right at 23, but you're 30 cents away from yesterday's high, 23.22. So that'd be your good resistance level.
22 and a half is absolutely enormous on this stock
Yeah.
too. Long ways away. I don't think Intel has a chance to get down there. But as you approach that level, if the selling does continue, there's lots of people probably picking bottoms in that area. Jefferies downgrading all the big pharma here today. They are downgrading Merck, they are downgrading Lilly, and they are downgrading AstraZeneca, a zebra N. So starting with Merck here, it's actually not trading down, interesting enough. It's trading flat right now, 47.51. So I guess people aren't putting that much, weight into this downgrade here with Merck. It bounced off the $47 level there yesterday, so that's an area where I might look, if it continues to sell off, where it might find some support here again this morning.
Right. Looking at the pre-market, not a lot going on here in the Merckster. You've had a pre-market low here at 47.12. I think you just have to look at this from a daily perspective here. Boy, some big ranges in that stock over the last couple days, but this $47 very significant. 46.96 low yesterday, and then if you go back 47.01, 47.02 at the end of August, first trading day of September. So that 47 major support here. You're opening up into a little bit of resistance here at 47.60, but boy, what you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive lower highs and 5 consecutive lower lows. So I don't know. You don't want to run out and buy this thing until at least that string is broken.
Lilly also getting downgraded, and it is trading down a bit. I think somebody upgraded that yesterday. I don't remember who. I'll have to look at my notes. But 49.15 is where it closed. That's trading down at 48.63 on this downgrade there. So Lilly here, where it had a pretty decent day yesterday, is giving some of it back.
Yeah, someone got real excited on this downgrade here. No, there's zero volume here down at this 47 tick. But
That's probably an odd lot.
not a good looking chart here, Dennis. I don't like when you get major support in an area 57.50, 47.53 to 56, and then you gap up one day and gap and go. I think if you're patient here over the next few days, maybe take a look at this major support at the 47.53 to 56. You had 3 lows there on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
We don't trade the ADRs that much, but AstraZeneca here is downgraded as well with the Jefferies report, and it's trading up actually. It's trading up at 50.60. Obviously, you get currency effects in there. You get the effects of it trading over there, on the other exchanges. So, just looking at it here though, from a technical perspective, we obviously bottomed right at $50 on the kisser yesterday, 49.99. So that whole area probably gives you some support.
Yeah, you're trading above yesterday's high on the upgrade here. You got a gap to fill in the issue. You got up to had a high. Let's see where that gap's at. You need to. Well, you are filling the gap here. 50.47 was the low. You gapped down 2 days ago. So coming back into resistance here, filling the gap. Major resistance 51.
Just going to fly through some of these other major upgrades
Okay.
and downgrades here. Deutsche Bank DB getting downgrade at Macquarie. You've got LTD, which is L Brands. I always still call it the limited. Downgrade at Credit Suisse here. That's an interesting one, actually, just looking at that LTD chart, just because where it went to yesterday, that's where it is trading at right now. And this whole $56 level, that's huge for this stock.
Yeah, I hit 56.15 yesterday. Had a couple other bottoms. One a little bit above it, 56.26, September 6th. Then you bottomed at 56.05 in August. You bottomed again at 55.91 here. Coming straight down off the $62 level. Like, holy man, this thing hit the skids. Let's see what happens at 56 here today. Trading at there in the pre-market. It's still support until it's broken. You take out that $56 level, Dennis, and I wouldn't want to be long in your
Lot
account.
of air.
Yeah, you got a lot of air down to 53.61. So if you limited brand bulls, you better hope this 56 holds up.
GLW downgrade at Piper. You've got Chesapeake CHK downgrade at Stifel Nicholas. Dr. Pepper DPS downgrade at Wells Fargo. CMG Chipotle Mexican Grill upgraded at Janney Capital. You've got the home builder. Susquehanna is bullish. The home builders, they are upgrading NVR. They are upgrading Lennar, which is LEN. And they are upgrading KB Homes, which is KBH. So lots of upgrades and downgrades. We don't have time to do technicals on all these, but just want to make you aware of all these upgrades and downgrades. I want to move on to some of the stuff that happened after hours again last night. We had the Gap right after the close, GPS, announcing their same-store sales and their comps. The comps were down 3%. That was compared with 1.8% in the previous period, plus 1.8%. So very disappointing comps from the Gap, and it's trading down significantly in the pre-market, down $1.70 right now at 37.79.
Boy, these things really move on the comps, huh? Holy
They can,
smokes!
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when they're negative and they're looking, they were positive last. I don't like seeing negative comps.
You got a spike down to 36.50 and a boatload of stock traded on that
That's a
too.
news
Nothing,
algo
yeah,
probably. I just
yeah,
getting
boy,
excited.
240K
Whoa!
traded on that bar. So,
Wow!
but now it's weird. I mean, you get that kind of a spike move down $2.50, but somehow it's just stopped here at 37.80. So, perhaps the algo that scooped us up at 36.50 is saying, "Get me out at
Maybe.
37.80." Yeah, that's a significant level up. You did have a major support at the $39 level, and we took that up. So if you get a recovery rally back anywhere near 39, I think there'll be a major resistance. We've crashed through the low of the moves here. So let's take a look. Take a look at the daily first. Take a look at that way it was bunching up there at the $39 level. And then in order to find support in this thing, we've got to go out
A little
to
tricky
a
too.
week.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to look
man.
out there, but man, nothing really jumping out too much. The 35 level kind of jumps out a bit. That's ridiculously lower.
36.14
There you
back in
go.
April. 36.14 was a low in late April. 36.19. That was a low and a weekly low in April too. But
It's a ways
I don't think
away.
you're going to get it back down to that 36.50
I don't think
level.
I don't think so either. Ethan Allen ETH came out after hours. Not a stock we talk about a lot on the show. They're lowering their guidance here. Q1 they're seeing 30 to 32 cents versus estimates up at 40 cents. They're seeing sales down at 180 million to 182 million versus 193.6 million. They are rocking the stock here. Ethan Allen last night on this report, and they were rocking it this morning. Well, actually, not trading much this morning, but last night it traded down 25.20. It's offered at $26 right now, so it does look like it is going to open below 26 and possibly in that 25 handle. You did have that one load there, Joel, 25.30 on September 3rd. Do you think that can hold up, or is this going to keep cascading
Yeah,
through?
It's a big
It
move. You
is.
had a couple moves down to that $25 level, so I keep an eye on that as well as I mean, that's a support level. 220, man. That's $2.29. That's down quite a bit here, down almost 10%. Let's see if it's spilling over into a stock from my hometown, Lazy Boy
Was a little bit
Chairs.
last night. It hasn't traded this morning, but I did notice that Lazy Boy actually was trading down about 30 cents on this Ethan Allen guidance last night. So it was trading down a little bit with it. Will be interesting. That 22 bucks, right where it came to yesterday, a little bit of resistance in there. So
Right. So if you're looking to, hit the laggard here, or a secondary stock, 2183 high 2 days ago, 22 yesterday, closed up near there. Real tight range yesterday. So when I see these kind of moves here after a big move up, and then you get a tight range, you got to think the sellers here are kind of being choosy here and selling against this $22 level. Really, no, you're through yesterday's low at 2170, so Lazy Boy could flop back over under 21 on this news.
Apple gets up again to resistance yesterday
Ah,
and just cannot get through it. We bounced some support
what
to
is with
resistance.
that?
Yeah, it goes from 479 to 491, back to 479 area, back to 491, 492. What was the high yesterday? Got right up to 492.38. So somebody has one, two, three, four, like five highs basically in the last seven trading sessions, all in that 491 to 492 and change area. So there, resistance very well defined in this, and even with yesterday's huge rally, couldn't push it through there. It's actually trading down $3 here today, back in the middle of the range at 486.60.
I don't. Are you seeing the volume on this? I mean, it.
82,000 shares this morning.
Yeah. I mean, it. Well, yesterday. I mean, I guess it wasn't that far below its average. 11 million only traded less than 10 million yesterday, but yeah, I was looking at that and I was thinking that this stock is going to close up this 490 area. Get a boost through it, maybe up to that 500,
Cannot.
and it just I'm glad I didn't take a shot on it.
Brick wall at
It's just, yeah,
492.
yeah. I mean, 480, 490. I mean, you have to put a strangle on there because it's not going to stay here in this area forever.
Well, you never know, though. I always say if it can stay in the area, keep playing it until it doesn't work. So you got that channelingstocks.com thing going on that Apple there, and that channel's been working for the last 2.5 weeks. So S&P futures here still just hanging out 1683 kind of. When you look at that chart, kind of looks like it's hanging on a cliff. But I mean, there's so much potential news here to happen. It's so hard to trade it technically right now because all of a sudden, they start to look hopeful yesterday. And we see a 29-point rally, so blowing through every technical level. I mean, if hope gets lost for whatever reason today, they'll probably sell it off. So we're just going to be probably trading off of headlines there to see if they can get a deal done or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to get back over the close at 85, and then you have the Thursday's high at 87.75, the overnight high at 89. I just don't see this thing just ripping through, all this resistance and continuing up to 1700. I think all you have your short to intermediate term players. I mean, we were at 16 for you, on Wednesday. I
Hmm.
mean, come on. I mean, 40 handles plus if you have picked up any profits from that on an intermediate trade. I mean, I just think there's going to be possible some profit taking.
The only problem is sometimes you get people caught short too. It was such a vicious rally there yesterday. So I don't know. I'm kind of sitting on my hands because I just don't know the fundamental news. Overall, this deal could break any time, and then it throws any technical analysis out the window. So it's a little tricky when there's so much potential news on the table. That's our show for today. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll be back at you on Monday.